War begins, Israel army sites under attack by dozens of Katyusha rockets. Hezbollah revenge. Is a full-scale war about to break out in the Middle East? That's what Hezbollah is calling their latest attack on Israeli army sites with dozens of Katyusha rockets. In this video, we look at what happened. What effects might this worsening have on the peace in the area? Could it lead to a bigger conflict? Come with us as we talk about the specifics of this bold move and what might happen as a result. Are you ready to find out what's really going on with these rising issues and what they mean for the future of the area? Let's jump right in. As Iran and its supporters prepared their response to the killing of Hamas's leadership head, which was blamed on Israel, tensions in the Middle East intensified on Saturday. As a result, the situation in the region became more dire. Speculations about a confrontation in the region were fueled by this event. Additionally, the United States, which is an ally of Israel, has stated that it will send warships and fighter jets to the region. This is in addition to the United States, which is also located in the region. Additionally, Western governments have urged their nationals to leave Lebanon, which is the location of the powerful Hezbollah movement, which is supported by Iran. Lebanon is located in Lebanon. Additionally, flights have been canceled by airlines. As a result of the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran this week, which took place just hours after the Israeli assassination of Hezbollah's military director in Beirut, Iran, and the so-called Axis of Resistance, have promised to wreak revenge on Israel. Haniyeh was killed in Tehran. During the struggle that has been going on in Gaza for approximately 10 months between Israel and the Palestinian group Hamas, militias from Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria that are supported by Iran have already been pulled into the conflict. During the course of Saturday, Israel carried out a raid that resulted in casualties in the occupied West Bank, participated in another round of firefights with Hezbollah, and struck a school facility in Gaza City. All of these events took place simultaneously. At least 17 people were killed as a direct consequence of the strike, as stated by the civil defense organization acting on behalf of the region that is ruled by Hamas. Over the course of the past few weeks, Israel has launched attacks against a significant number of schools in Gaza that have been transformed into shelters for those who have been displaced. Israel has argued that the buildings have been used by militants for the course of their existence. Regarding the use of civilian infrastructure for military purposes, Hamas issued a statement in which it disputed the allegations. A funeral service for Haniyeh was held on Friday in Qatar, the nation in which he had been living up until his passing. A number of organizations, including Hamas and Iran, have asserted that Israel is the one responsible for the strike. However, Israel has not made any direct statements regarding the topic. Hezbollah is expected to conduct strikes further within Israel, according to statements made by Iranian authorities on Saturday. These attacks will no longer be limited to military objectives, according to the Iranian officials. The United States Department of Defense Pentagon made the announcement that it will be strengthening its military presence in the Middle East with the purpose of protecting American personnel and supporting Israel. It was stated that an aircraft carrier strike group commanded by United States Navy ship Abraham Lincoln will be dispatched, in addition to the deployment of a new fighter squadron and more cruisers and destroyers that are capable of providing ballistic missile defense. Additionally, it was stated that the aircraft carrier strike group will be sent. The Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, was questioned by the media at his beach house in Delaware about his conviction that Iran will retreat from its current posture. "I really hope so," he responded. "I believe that. I don't know." Soon after that, Hezbollah made the claim that it had fired hundreds of Katyusha rockets in the direction of the settlement of Beit Hillel, which is situated in the northern region of Israel. They stated that it was in retaliation to an Israeli strike that had taken place in southern Lebanon on the villages of Kfar Kila and Deir Syrian, which had resulted in the wounding of civilians. They said that the strike had been carried out in response to the Israeli strike. In the early hours of Saturday, Hezbollah published a statement regarding the deaths of two of its members. One of the militants was a young man from Deir Syrian, who was 17 years old. Diana Abu Asl, a student who is 20 years old and lives in Beirut, was interviewed by the Asian financial press, AFP. In her statement, she stated her worry that something bad will happen to my family and friends. "If there is war, I don't think I will be able to bear staying in Lebanon," she said. "It is not something I can tolerate. It is not something I can tolerate." On Saturday, massive crowds consisting of hundreds of people gathered in Morocco, Jordan, and Turkey to express their disgust of the murder of Haniyeh and to display their sympathy with Palestinians, according to correspondents from the AFP. As a result of a string of attacks that have taken place since April, including the murder of Haniyeh, there has been an increase in the level of concern regarding the possibility of a regional conflagration. His death occurred in the hours that followed Israel's raid on South Beirut, which led to the assassination of Fouad Shukr, the chief of the Hezbollah military. On Saturday, the United States of America and the United Kingdom made an appeal to their citizens who are currently resident in Lebanon, asking them to leave the country as soon as possible. According to a figure that was done by AFP based on official numbers from Israel, Israel has pledged to eradicate Hamas as a measure of retribution for the unprecedented attack that it carried out on October 7. As a result of this strike, a fight broke out in Gaza, which ultimately led to the deaths of 1,197 persons, the vast majority of whom were civilized individuals. There are also 251 hostages that have been captured by militants, 111 of whom are now being held captive in Gaza, including 39 that the Israeli Defense Forces (IDF) claims have been slain. There have been at least 39,550 Palestinians who have lost their lives as a direct result of Israel's war against Hamas, as stated by the Health Ministry of Gaza. On the other hand, the ministry does not offer any specifics regarding the number of civilian and terrorist victims. Haniyeh was the principal negotiator for Hamas throughout the movement's efforts to negotiate an end to the war the organization was fighting. His execution raised questions about the durability of the efforts that Qatari, Egyptian, and American mediators are making to negotiate a ceasefire in exchange of hostages and detainees. These efforts are being made in an effort to determine whether or not they will continue to be sustainable. Not only has Netanyahu been accused of prolonging the war in order to defend his ruling hard-right coalition, but this claim has also been made by certain analysts and demonstrators in Israel. Hamas officials have also made this accusation. Demonstrators who are opposed to the government in a number of Israeli cities repeated their demands for a hostage release arrangement on Saturday. A severe outbreak of sickness is currently taking place in Gaza. On Saturday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken of the United States of America had separate calls with his colleagues in France and the United Kingdom regarding the situation in the Middle East, according to Matthew Miller, a spokeswoman for the State Department. These conversations were about the situation in the Middle East. Miller and Blinken, along with David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, and Stéphane Séjourné, the Foreign Minister of France, all agreed in a statement that there is a need for prudence on all sides in those regions. The statement was released by Miller. The West Bank, which is occupied by Israel, has also witnessed an upsurge in the number of violent occurrences. The Palestinian government reported on Saturday that 2 Israeli airstrikes had resulted in the deaths of 9 civilians in the northern section of the territory. The strikes were carried out by Israeli aircraft. An announcement has been made by the military forces stating that they have eliminated terrorist cells. According to a statement that was issued by the United Nations on Friday, the conditions of public health in Gaza continue to deteriorate. Because of the battle in Gaza, a substantial amount of property has been destroyed, and almost all of the people living in the area have been compelled to return home. In the time since the commencement of the war, there have been approximately 40,000 cases of hepatitis A that have been reported. Those who consume contaminated food or water are at risk of contracting this sickness. Since October, Hezbollah has been involved in cross-border shooting with Israeli forces, stating that it is doing it in support of Hamas. This has been going on for quite some time. This exchange of fire has taken place on a daily basis, almost every day. Quite a few airlines have stopped flying to Tel Aviv and Beirut, and this trend is expected to continue. Both Air France and Transavia France will continue to keep their flights to Beirut suspended until at least Tuesday, according to a statement that was issued by their parent company on Saturday. Only on josav.com is it possible to listen to the most recent music that has been released. A decision was made by Turkish Airlines on Saturday to cancel its nighttime flights to Tehran for the second night in a row, as reported by AFP correspondents. This decision was made for the second consecutive night. If you found this deep dive into the escalating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah compelling, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Subscribe now to stay informed and ahead of the curve.